In this video, I'm going to share with you guys the 5 biggest hiring mistakes I've ever made, and I sincerely hope that you are able to avoid them. Now, for context, we have well over 20 plus people on our team today. I've probably hired triple that in my whole entire career, and I've found it to be the single greatest skill that we can harness as an entrepreneur is learning how to lead and manage teams. Yet hardly anyone talks about it. So if you want to get to the 7-figure or multi-7-figure land investing mark, I think that this one skill is a non-negotiable. Let's jump in.
Okay, so this is going to be a very advanced video, and I don't know if this is going to be for everyone, but hopefully it helps you. I'm going to go through my 5 biggest hiring mistakes. And honestly, I could probably make a part 20 for this because there's literally hundreds of mistakes that I've made along the way. And I want to share some of them with you. And maybe we'll turn this into like an actual series. You know, what's so funny is this kid right here never would have thought in a million years he would be in this position. And this kid right here, when I filmed this video, had just hired his first real employee that's still with him today and was like a fish out of water. I mean, I was so lost. And if we fast forward till today, we've got over 25 team members. I think the number is actually over 30, but I didn't go and take tally. But let's call it 25 plus team members between LIA, Land Insights, the Land Pioneer, and probably well over 50 grand a month just in payroll to run those teams. I never would have thought I would be here. And I've had to learn through the school of hard knocks along the way. And I want to share some of the stuff with you guys. I think for the really advanced land investors, this may be beneficial. And for those that are just getting started, this still may be beneficial as well, because you never know where you're going to be a year from now, 2 years from now. I mean, this video was only filmed like 4 years ago. Okay. So to go from there to now in 4 years, I never would have thought that would have happened. And I wish back then I was consuming content around this stuff. I wish I knew what was in the pipeline for me next. It was an incredible gentleman named Naval Ravikant. Okay. He's got a great book called The Almanac of Naval. He's a great thinker. He's kind of like a modern day philosopher. And what he talks about is the 4 different kinds of leverage. And in fact, if you talk to other people, there's potentially even more kinds of leverage than just these 4, but these are just kind of 4 ways to simplify things. And this is leverage in business, which I would make the argument that you don't have a business without leverage. Like, leverage is kind of the gateway to even having a business. Otherwise, you kind of just have a job, right? And so we stack this into a hierarchy. The first point of leverage would be capital. Okay. Imagine you're in the land business and you just got more money than other people. Okay. That's a form of leverage. It's not a great point of leverage, but for sure that puts you above other folks. You have a competitive edge. The second form of leverage is labor. Okay. This is the bedrock of land investing. Like this is it. This is the thing. The third is code, essentially what we've done within Land Insights, right? So we've created leverage for land investors through the code that we've created inside of Land Insights. And up until this point, there really aren't very many good examples of where code has been applied to create leverage for land investors. And the last one is media, being the kind of the top ends. Now, I don't have media leverage as it comes to land investing. There are people out there that I think have kind of embodied this, one of them being Landio. They've got such a good distribution through their media channels that they literally get land deals brought to them. And now they have their own brokerage. They list people's deals. That's a really strong form of leverage. Then you can think about these points of leverage as kind of a competitive moat, right? As a competitive advantage that allows you to win no matter what your competitors are doing. And so it's our job to create a system that has more and more and more leverage. Now, we can either work our way up this hierarchy and try to find the upper reaches of leverage. And truthfully, you kind of need to stair step your way up there. It's very rare that you would jump to the point of media leverage and land without first achieving some of these other ones, but it technically is possible. But I think what's more realistic is that you just get really good at some of these points of leverage, okay? You can create a stronger kind of fulcrum or leverage point by getting better at sourcing and managing labor. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. This is the thing to master. I hope if you're new, you really hear me on this one. Mastering how to build teams is going to have more ROI in land, I think, than anything else. Because the truth is, you're not going to do this alone if you want to build this into something substantial, or even if you don't want to build a big business, you're not going to do this alone if you want to have some freedom in your life, right? Back when I was this kid right here, which honestly feels like a different version of myself. I feel like I killed that guy many times over again to become who I am today. But what you don't see in this video is that guy was doing everything in the business. I mean, I was at UPS at least twice a day. I was doing notary deliveries, taking out cashier's checks to, pay the counties to record properties. I was taking seller calls, dispo calls. I was doing all of it. And at that point, I had no leverage. Like even traveling from San Diego to my hometown of Big Sur, Monterey, was a huge setback in my business. It was always like a tough pill to swallow. Taking a day off just wasn't realistic. That wasn't the business I wanted to create. I wanted more impact and I wanted more freedom. And so I stumbled my way into this area of trying to get better at organizing labor. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. Let's talk about the 5 big cardinal sins that I made in my team building experience. And I see these played out freaking time and time again. So while these might not be the most important or sinful things that I've done, I feel like they're the most relevant because I see this play out within our community for more advanced LIA members all the time. Okay. So the first point is under delegating. And this is a classic sin, if you will, of a new business owner or new entrepreneur. And that looks like you get the butt in the seat and then you still do all of the things yourself. Now, this is a problem for a multitude of reasons. One, it creates more work for you. Like you're still working hard and now you got the payroll of paying someone. On top of it, it demoralizes that employee because you're not ever giving them the vote of confidence. You're never saying, I believe in you. And so we need to get over this hump. Now, the way you get over this hump, in my opinion, is actually by doing the complete opposite. And my strategy has always been to over delegate, but have the expectation that we're going to break a lot of stuff. So I over delegate with the understanding that it's probably going to be done incorrectly. They're going to make mistakes. We're going to light some stuff on fire. We're going to create some accidents. But what happens is in that process, I'm giving the vote of confidence to people. They're rising to the occasion. They're learning that they're more powerful than they thought they might be. And I swear, when people feel like they have your vote of confidence, they want to go above and beyond. They don't want to let you down. Like most people I've ever worked with, when they feel like, wow, I can't believe this person trusts me to do this, they go hard. They put everything on the line. But you as the business owner have to have the expectation that there is the downside of things are going to be done incorrectly. There's going to be many problems. They're going to piss people off. They're going to maybe get you in trouble. I've lost money because of this. I've pissed sellers off. I've pissed buyers off. I've gotten myself into many dilemmas from this over delegating, but I see no other path because in the process, I've created true leaders and I've created people where the work together has become a self-development experience because they've had to rise to the occasion of what's being requested of them. That's the kind of thing to where they look at that job and they say, this job changed my life. I never want to. That's how you get true ride or die people, which I'm trying to create ride or die team atmosphere. And I just don't think you can ever get there by making people feel like they can't do things. So the caveat here is that you still need to have your finger on the pulse. The problem that a lot of people get wrong here is that they over delegate and they just turn a blind eye and they just walk off in the other direction and they think it's getting done. It's like, no, you over delegate so they can rise to the occasion and you can build leaders within your company, but you're still the old wise person looking from the sideline saying, we did this right. You need to correct this. Yep. And you do that enough times and then it's second nature for the person. And then you never have to think about it again. Like I haven't looked at a HUD statement or a title report in years, but to delegate that, I had to incur some risk because we made mistakes. We bought properties that didn't have legal access, even though it said it right there in the title report, but my team missed it. We've had to carry a burden because of that. But again, it's the only way for me that I know of to create true leadership. Now, just because we're over delegating doesn't mean, and we're going to get to point number 5, which loops into this, but more importantly, it doesn't mean that we get to just send people off with no kind of guidance, no kind of guideline, no kind of example, no kind of support training, SOPs, processes. They still require some kind of rubric. So it's not throwing people into the deep end and never giving them a swimming lesson. It's still required that you give them a swim lesson and that there's a placard on the wall that gives them like the 10 best practices of swimming. Like there still has to be support there, okay? Number 2, cheaper is not better. Obviously, right? But it's not so obvious because a lot of folks, when they're hiring, what's the number one thing people look at when they hire? From what I've seen, it's how much does this person want? or what are they willing to accept? That's like the number one criteria that I've seen people choose off of. And it's really the wrong criteria to choose off of. Now I can make an entire video of how we kind of grade candidates and how we think about who might be a good fit versus who is not going to be a good fit. And it's not a perfect science, and we make mistakes there, but you're trying to create a system to where you can handle a lot of inbound flow for candidates. But cheaper certainly is not better. Now, there are counter examples. We have hired people that are amazing that started at low hourly rates. So it's not a guarantee that they're going to be a bad fit, but you want to really get away from just thinking about the cost, because a true A player in your business is an investment. It's through and through an investment. And the reason that I make this point so loud and clear is because you might have an employee, let's say you're paying them 20% more, okay? Let's say you're paying them $12 an hour versus $10 an hour, okay? And the person on the $10 an hour scale, let's say they're willing to accept a lower commission, they're really amenable, like they're very easy, like they're like, yeah, I'm ready to go, like, yeah, let's do it. But they're like a B player in your business, okay? And you got this person that's on the other side, they're kind of negotiating, they want a bigger commission, like they have just, kind of a stronger guidelines that they're operating off of, but they're an A+ player. The difference there is orders of magnitude. It's not even in the same realm in terms of performance. Literally, the difference is so extreme. And when we think about this in land investing, let's say that you have an acquisition manager, okay? The lifeblood of our business. And let's say it's 100% difference in what they're asking for. So they want $20 an hour. Now, again, it has to be warranted. I'm not just going to just assume that they're better, and so I'm going to give it to them. But let's say they're asking for double. You might be paying that person, I don't know, whatever the math is. I'm not going to do public math. Let's just say you're paying them double. And an okay acquisition manager, the first person at $10 an hour, they bring you in $500K. Okay, it's pretty normal. It's not great. It's not terrible. A great acquisition manager, though, can bring you in $2 million, $2.5 million in a year for a real rock star player. And so when you do the math there and you look at the difference, it's measly. If that person can unlock one additional deal annually, you broke it even or you've made money off that. And an A player is going to unlock substantially more deals. And when you create a culture of A players, it's just a more fun place to work, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're probably not a dummy. Okay. If you're able to build a business and get this far, you're probably not a dummy. Like, you might not be a rocket scientist, but you're probably pretty smart. And so if you're going to be working around people that aren't ambitious, they might not be as sharp as you might like, it drags down the culture, it drags down the energy for you and for everyone else. When there's the dummy on the team that never gets anything, is always late, is always effing things up, it sets the wrong example for everyone. And I promise you, as a business owner, it's like a little cancerous tumor that festers. You're always like, ugh. Every time the person asks a question or like problems arise, you're just like, it's just not worth it. But when you have true A players where you ask them, hey, where are we at with this project? They're like, oh, it's already done. You're like, what? It's already done? I told you, I said this 2 days ago. That sets such a crazy standard for momentum. So yeah, just trust me on this. It's orders of magnitude difference. The return, it's not even in the same ballpark. And on top of that too, you want to be mindful that like when you're hiring folks and they're too easy, that's usually a red flag. When can you start? Tomorrow. How much are you willing to take? Whatever you're willing to pay me. What do you want as a commission? Oh, I'll just take whatever was listed in the listing for the job. Like, that to me is a red flag, because great talent knows their worth. Great talent has high values. They know what they want. They know where they're going, and they're not just going to roll over and just say, sure, I'll take any kind of work. But I used to look at that as, well, they're really low cost and they're very responsive and they're very easy to work with and they can start tomorrow, so I should hire them, right? Third point, and this kind of loops into number 2, obvious lead pools, okay? Great talent is hard to find for 2 reasons. 1, because it has a job already, probably. Or 2, everyone else wants to work with that person. Great A players do not have a problem finding jobs. It's like, they don't. They either own their own business, they're already in a successful job, or they're being poached elsewhere. And so you typically don't find great talent in obvious places. Why would they need to be there? You know, someone that's a rock star VA is not going to be on onlinejobs.ph on average. Of course, there's exceptions, but on average, they're not hanging out there because they're in such high demand. They know if this job leaves them, they had 10 other people that try to reach out to them and poach them. And it's like dating. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe the best dating prospects aren't on farmersmeet.com. I could be wrong. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but like, you probably have a better likelihood of finding someone of, I don't know, great substance or value in the dating marketplace in the real world. Like they're not raising their hands and trying to go to these lead pools. So what am I trying to say? Look at the non-obvious places. It doesn't mean that these people aren't in kind of categorized lead pools where you can find them, but the really obvious places, it's picked over. Like the good stuff is already gone in a lot of cases. So be mindful of that. The example that you could give here would be tax auctions. In land, the best deals rarely go to tax auction because someone's already swiped them up before, or the owner already paid off the taxes because it's a great property. And so you're more likely to find that going direct to owner than you are at a tax auction. It's the same thing here. So much of our results in hiring comes from who we hire. But further than that, so much of who we hire comes from the places that we're even looking for candidates at. So one of the easiest things that you can do to build a better team is look in non-obvious places to find great talent. And that's for us, one of our biggest hiring channels has been our tiny little slice of media, which is a tiny slice, but just our community and YouTube and whatnot. Probably the biggest ROI, honestly, like true, at the end of the day, has been who we've hired through our media, because we've been able to expose ourselves to world-class talent that we would never find anywhere else. And anytime I put up a job listing, we get a dozen or 24 people that are way overqualified than me. They've got MBAs, they've gone to great schools. I'm like, I'm not even college educated. How is this happening? Well, I'm building authority through media, but I'm also sourcing people from places that are not obvious. Now, there's many other factors that play into that. It's mission orientated. There's a lot more that goes into that, but it's a good example of looking in non-obvious lead pools to find great talent. Now, number 4 is not rewarding outlier performance. Okay. This is one I'm still dealing with. When you have someone that wins big, when you have someone that operates outside of the norm in terms of results or performance or work ethic or whatever, reward it. Okay. It's part of your job to be looking and scanning the horizon and seeing what's going on. Who's really putting their best foot forward? Who's putting numbers on the board? Who's crushing it, simply? And when that happens, do not be conservative in your rewards. Now, rewarding doesn't always mean just giving someone money. Sometimes it's just verbal recognition, right? Sometimes it's sending them a handwritten card. Sometimes it's just buying them a gift, taking them on a vacation, buying them some new clothes, sending them a box of cookies, whatever. You need to keep a keen eye on the stuff and reward it, though, because we all operate off of rewards. And when we get rewarded for doing good work, what do we want to do? We want to do more good work. And the funny thing is that it's typically higher ROI to use words or gifts than just giving bonuses. Now, for sure, bonuses are required and that they should exist. But I find a thoughtful gift might cost you $100 or $200, has way more impact than just giving that cold hard cash. Even if you gave them $1,000. Like, it's the thought behind it and the sincerity of rewarding that outlier performance. Don't hold that back. Don't keep that for yourself. Put that out there on blast and let your team know too. Do it in the presence of everyone so they get that social recognition. And you show people this is the standard, right? Call out winning performance. Now, my problem is I don't do that enough. And I typically call out bad performance more than I call out good performance. And that's the natural human bias, right? We are like moths to light. We are attracted to the negative. We are attracted to the problems. And so, of course, we overly fixate on that. We spend way too much time harping on it. That has its place. But honestly, I should probably flip it. I do 90% negative, 10% positive for the recognition of like, hey, like I'm acknowledging a problem or acknowledging a win. It should probably be flipped, to be totally frank. The last thing is do this thing that I've never done before, in quotes. This does not work. It's never worked for me. Okay. Now, maybe if you're hiring a true specialist, maybe that's a counter to this point. But even then, I still don't think it's possible. What do I mean by this? You're trying to hire an acquisition manager, but you've never been on the phone with a seller before. Won't work. Just won't work. You will hire the wrong person. You won't know how to train them. You won't know how to lead them. You won't know how to spot problems. You got to have some context on what you're delegating. And that's true for a role in its entirety, or that's true just for a simple project. If you've never written a cold email and you're trying to build a cold email team, what are you doing? And I would take that even further and say that you need to have some success there. It doesn't have to be like you're the best of the best, but a little bit of success there. I've got myself consistently in trouble when I hire agencies or I hire team members and I don't even know what they're doing, how they're doing it, how to have some oversight, how to judge them if they're even the right fit to begin with. And so you really do need to pay your dues. You need to have context on what you're delegating. And most importantly, I think that'll give you empathy. That will give you the ability to reward outlier performance because you know what it looks like because you've done it before. Okay. Boom. Those are the 5. I hope you guys enjoyed this. By the way, if you guys want to see more content just like this, more exclusive land investing content, we just released our free Facebook group. I'll put the link down below. We got 33 people in there. We just launched this week. I want to see this in the hundreds, maybe the thousands in the next few weeks. There's a lot of cool content in there. The whole entire Land Insights and LIA team is in there. It's free to join. We still have our Discord, but this is for people that are Facebook fanatics, which I know there's a lot of y'all out there. Cheers.